introduction. I'm proud to call her my friend, and she is a beacon of love and light. So I turn the podium now over to Lisa Ressler.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
It's so nice to see everybody seated in the pews. It's much easier than, for me, than looking at a camera and trying to connect. But it is pleasant to be here this morning again, and we have been blessed in so very many ways. This morning, I wanted to talk about spirit and involvement. Now, most of us know that we have the divine that lives within us, part of our metaphysical beliefs. And we also know that God is omnipotent. But I wonder if we really think about God evolving. Do we really spend time understanding that God doesn't sit still? That the books, the rules, the regulations, all the things that were written long ago, while still having some basis to build our belief system on, don't stay still. Christ never stood still. Muhammad didn't stay still. Buddha never stood still. Everything was about evolvement. Well, guess what? God evolves. If you don't believe it, and you're Christian, look at the difference between the Old Testament writings and the New Testament writings. Now, let's remember that we are humans and we are the ones who wrote the books. But even so, our perception of how we saw God changed. But so did God. Because as we move through our lives, we become more fluent in things we do all the time. If we are patterns of divine energy, this also means that God becomes more fluent and continues to move. And since God is love, and love is God in action, it evolves. I've been with my husband now 24 and a half years. And I will tell you that in my relationship I have been blessed enough that I love him more today than I loved him when I met him. And that the man can still bring sparks of flutter into my heart. Our relationship has evolved. I understand that's not the way it is for everybody, and that doesn't mean your relationship is wrong. But it is for me a very real, practical example of love evolving. Love evolving happens for every parent as you bring in this child into the world. And even after the pains of labor, you hold that baby and everything's forgotten but that child, and you have this immense joy. From my husband's point of view, even as a father, you hold that child and there's an immense love. So the child starts, and you have to take care of it, every its needs. And you bring it up, and you try and train it, and you try to give it the tools it needs to be able to go out into the world, to be able to grow, and to make its own decisions in a very real and hopefully very productive way. And then that love evolves, because then you must say, it is time for you to go. And sometimes that means we don't see our children, because they move away, their lives take on different patterns, whatever. Sometimes it means that they're taken from us. But love evolves. Grief is part of love. Grief evolves. God evolves in every little nuance, because we do. And every time we evolve, every time we move forward, every time we look at things in a different perception, thus the energy of love evolves. And as the energy of love evolves, so does the Creator. We will never be able to change our circumstances or the world we we live in unless we understand God and the God within us evolves. We have the power. We have the tools. We have the drive. We have the simplicities. We have everything we need to evolve our love. And as that love evolves, our perceptions will change. And the people, the situations, the things that are driving us nuts or we don't like can change. And they change because of evolution. They change because we change our perception. They change because we understand that we are more than this tiny little box. When we tear down the walls of the box that we put ourselves in, and we do it as a mass consciousness, we break down those barriers and we can move and find we can do things we never expected to be able to do. As we evolve and we understand that we don't have to have such deep pits of despair to move forward. We have to have moments of backward movement, disappointment, things that we have found that we haven't conquered or that we misstepped on. Because that's how we move forward. We have a tendency, if we don't have those moments, to become complacent, and then we take things for granted. And we stop seeing the wonder in the world. But we don't have to go into the pits of despair to be able to get there. So as we evolve, we can see that our lives can change, and having somebody give us a different viewpoint and have it sting a little bit can also be enough to drive us to say, okay, I need to look at this. As we start to do that, we start to see things around us in a different way. We start to notice the trees and the flowers have a different light. We start to understand that they have living energy within them. They have God within them. Therefore, they too have a receptor to our feelings and us to them. Some people feel really good talking to the trees. Most people will have a green thumb, which God love me, I do not have. Even with talking to the plants, I'll talk to the plants all day. Yeah. It's not real good, okay? No offense, I just know it's not my high point. But they'll talk to the plants. Standing in the woods, for most of us, is a way for us to breathe and find center. Even if we're not a mountain or woods person. Just like standing next to water and listening to it run is a way to find center. You don't believe it? How many people, you don't have to raise your hands, answer it for yourself. Find yourself when you're really frustrated, you're really uptight, standing under the shower or in the tub and letting the water run and sitting there and going, and for that moment, all the cares of the day are kind of washed away. God evolves. His principles, his parts of him that make him who he is, stay consistent. But the way he perceives things evolves, and that's what infinity is. Infinity is the continuation, the constant growth, the constant evolvement. I can't imagine infinity. I know it exists, but it's an abstract to me because it never ends. I'm in a very linear world. But I know it's there. That's faith. And if I know it's there, that means that I have all the time in the world to become a master. So the pressure that I would put on myself to, I can get it down now. Really? How much of that do we need? That gives us the time to slow down, to notice the beauty in life, to slow down, take the journey in, sightsee a little bit in our lives, to be able to smell the roses, to be able to taste the joys, to be able to experience the sorrows, to be able to process it without the, I gotta get it done now, and to take away that stress. I know a lot of people, and I get into this, right? It's got to get done. I only have this much time. I only have this many days. I've got this commitment, I've got that commitment, this person has to be here, the kids are going back to school, the kids are getting out of school, I have to. And then I kind of get slapped in the face usually. And it's like, slow down. Thank goodness for my help from the universe. Because they remind me that it's all just a process. It's an experience. It's an experiment. But we process everything that we see, all the things that are happening right now, all those things that seem to be so counterintuitive to what we have come to establish as being right. And we're saying, what the heck is going on? And there are people out there who are in despair and think that we've lost everything. No, we haven't. We've been given a window. A window to practice change. A window to evolve, a window to create, a window to understand and to encompass compassion for what is going on. You've heard me talk about fear lately. You've heard a lot of us talk about forgiveness. Talk about the ability to interflect and to forgive ourselves. All of these things come through this window that has been given to us for vision, to say this is something that really needs to be dealt with now. My mom says sometimes, I've been so busy that this house is driving me nuts, I can't stand it anymore, it's got to be done. You look at the same thing, that pile, and that pile's like, yeah, I'll get that tomorrow. And then you get to a point where it's like, I can't do it, it's got to be done, okay? Well, here is the world saying, here's all this stuff, what do you want to do with it? How do we get it done? You going to brush it back over here? We're going to hit it head on? Are we going to change our perceptions, our outlooks, and our beliefs? Are we going to take up the tools of our heart and our love and our compassion? Are we going to move forward? Are we going to hold accountability not only to those who are directly involved, but to us who are complacent to it? And then are we going to forgive those who are directly involved and us who are complacent to it? Now, if we have healed, if we've cleaned the wound, what's the next process? It's healing. How do we heal? We heal by recreating what we want to see. We heal, our bodies heal by recreating the barriers that need to be established to keep us in homeostasis. The earth heals by recreating the barriers needed to refund, renourish, and keep in the good that is within her. So, we evolve. God evolves. The way he sees us, the way they interact with us, the way they send us help evolves. There was a time for me to admit that I am a camel. Could have gotten me killed. Probably did. Or a healer. Or a medium. Or somebody who simply believed differently. Had a different religion. And we don't have that as much now, thank goodness. Thank the divine. We look at our brothers and sisters who have different sexual identities. And we're coming to terms with that. Whether it's conventional, whether it isn't conventional, doesn't matter. They're still the same person. There's a perception that they have and a perception that we owe them the respect to honor. We look at people from different countries and different creeds and different colors, and if one thing happened with this pandemic, it was to know that we are all the same. This pandemic hit all of us. None of us were free from the experience. None of us were free from the possible implications of this virus. And the only way this thing gets conquered is if we work together. When we share, which is what we want to teach our children, right? We want to teach them to share. When we share ideas, when we share our gifts, when we share our abilities, when we share our abundances, we can come together, we can conquer. When we share our mindsets, our thoughts, we can come, we can conquer, we can overcome. Everything we're being given to see that says, ooh, I really don't like that, I don't want to look at it. Okay, so what are we going to do about it? That's evolution. It's evolution. If you don't like what you see, let's change it. If you want to understand your personal relationship with God, let's build it. We're lighter now than we ever were. Talking to the divine and hearing them talk back to us is easier than it's ever been. And the divine shows itself. It wants to show itself to us in every aspect. We're the ones who can add to the pool of love. Each and every one of us. We're the ones who can re-examine our lives and the direction we want to go. And I guarantee you, there is strength in numbers. And God said, whatever gifts you give, that He would magnify 10 times. Well, believe it or not, I believe God magnifies it millions of times over because there are millions of us. And if you believe that the love that you give, even if you're angry at somebody and it's minimal and it seems insignificant, believe that that love that you can give just to recognize that they are a child of God and therefore deserve to be treated with respect, even if they don't give it to you. This is not about, oh, well, you didn't give me respect, so I'm not giving you respect. This is about if you hold yourself to a higher standard, then you need to lead by example of what you want them to treat you like. We need to have self-confidence for people to believe in our confidence. We need to have self-forgiveness to really be able to forgive somebody else. But we need to see our own personal weaknesses in order to be able to enhance our strengths and to be able to be compassionate and to be merciful to somebody else's weaknesses. My strengths may not be yours. Your strengths may not be mine. It doesn't matter. We weave together and make a beautiful fabric. Some of us are really slower learners, and that's okay. That's okay because God says it's okay. God didn't say we're going to forget them. He just says they need more time. And that doesn't mean that we have to accept the actions. It means that we have to experience the actions with responsibility. But understand, actions are not who we are. They can be an outward vision of what we believe. But we are divine and perfect patterns of imperishable energy. We are the God spark. We are all one. And when we understand the evolution of that, we can do limitless things. So today, think about your limitless possibilities. Think about what you want your next visit with the divine to look about, and what you want to bring to the divine to add to their experiences to create even better. And let us be that. Thank you.